Hi, I'm Coos, your director. Happy Father's Day and Juneteenth, 2021. Black men are more likely to die of the top 10 preventable diseases and causes of death than any other demographic group. Black men die an average of 7 years earlier than black women. The operative word here is preventive, which is why we produce the following program. Your hosts for the evening are self-empowerment educators. Mr. Leonard Berg from my hometown, Harlem, New York. He's a soul therapist and the Dean of Faculty of Quayle Works. And Ms. Mia Allman from McCoy, Florida, the founder and editor-in-chief of KUO Magazine, Official Women of Culture 365, Official Men of Culture 365, Ribbons of Survivors 365, and a certified life, health, and nutrition coach. So let the show begin. You are live.
Hello, it's June, so we are celebrating National Men's Health Month and Caribbean American Heritage Month with a special men's wellness webcast. Mia?
Hi there. Um, oh, geez.
What's our theme,
myself
Mia?
together here. Our theme tonight is self-care, risk living the life you love. Can we all agree that given a choice, most people would choose to passionately live the life they love? So why aren't they? And why are some men of color not committed to protecting most valuable assets, their total health and well-being?
Well, that's a very serious question, Mia, but we aim to offer some helpful perspectives that might inspire men of multiple cultures to risk paying more attention to their health in relationship to the fulfillment of their life goals.
As it is, many tend to attribute their poor health to their parents, accidents, their circumstances, their environment, their culture, their random DNA, or just bad luck. Well, Lenny, are they right?
Well, certainly all of these things do play a factor in our health and thus in our lives. But some of our challenges do relate to a culture also and heredity and environment, or as I say, the hand that we're dealt. But the critical question is, what can we do about it? What proactive steps can we take going forward to prevent, more naturally treat, or recover from the diseases of the day?
That is the question. Any suggestions, Lenny?
Well, yes, I think that our consciousness about health is what determines the choices we make and the results that we get.
So, what you are saying is our health is in our own hands. Can that be true?
Well, although we come into the world with a certain constitution and susceptibility to various health conditions, we do have some free will. Our thoughts, words, and deeds determine how strong and healthy we can live, in spite of some of the limitations of heredity and environment. The first thing to remember is that we are much more than our body mind, which is just a costume worn by our essence, our spirit. And it is the spirit which is the source of life and healing within us. That being the case, how can we possibly maintain the highest level of health without knowing and being in contact with our spirits? Like the ancients said, man, know thyself.
That implies that within our body is the capacity to fight disease. If this is true, why is there so much disease in the world?
Well, that's the problem, Mia, because we think that it is necessary to fight disease. Like the war on cancer, or people say, yeah, I'm going to beat the disease. The truth is, the disease is the body's attempt to heal itself. Our job is to cooperate with and to some extent manage that process through various wellness practices. I write about this in my book, The Dis-Ease is the Cure. Mia, you had to learn about and adapt some of these practices to survive a life-threatening disease, did you not?
Yes, Lenny, as a 21 breast cancer survivor, I know the answers to that one. Some of most things you can do to maintain your wellness are also the things men resist doing, including doctor visits, regular medical testing, and listening to your body for early detection and any problems. Educating and cultivating your spirit, and living a balanced life. Good health, less meat, especially red meat, more fruits and vegetables, and drinking plenty of clean water. Don't forget good hygiene, exercise, limit the use of intoxicants, smoking, and proper rest and relaxation.
Okay, well, all of these things do help. And in my practice, I recommend them where necessary. Sometimes, even in emergency cases, we have to use certain allopathic or drug remedies. But first comes nourishment for the soul, the source of life force in the body. That life force is called Qi by Tai Chi and Qigong masters, or it's called Prana by yoga masters. Consciousness of our lifestyle and habits determines the extent to which we balance our Qi and manifest the insight, will, and energy necessary to prevent and treat disease. What a lot of people don't realize is that there's Qi in the sun, there's Qi in the air, in the water, and more natural foods. There's Qi that builds up when we sleep and get the proper rest. There are also exercises that we can use to take in more Qi or free up the Qi that's in the body when it's blocked, which leads to health problems. The more we learn to connect with the ultimate life force and cultivate the Qi in the body and in the atmosphere, the less dependent we are on artificial substances and chemicals to function healthily in life.
I see, Lenny. Of course, and that is why we are here today. This show is aimed at all men, but especially men of color who suffer disproportionately with lots of life threatening diseases. What is called the diseases of civilization: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, and a host of other ailments. Lenny, can we really change our life chance by changing our attitudes, behavior, and lifestyle?
Yes, especially if we're being conscious. We don't have to succumb to these diseases. There's much that we can do to prevent them and even treat the body in a way that strengthens our immune system and helps the body to heal itself. The question is, what is more risky, my brothers and sisters? Business as usual, eating and living like the mainstream or the herd, as we call it, or raising our level of consciousness in order to summon the life force necessary for enhanced healing and well-being?
So, the question you're really proposing is, are we ready to risk moving beyond business as usual in order to be better served, our families, society, and generations to come, to not only live the life we love, but live it longer and stronger?
Exactly. I think we are. This evening, we want to talk about what levels of self-care and wellness is the bottom line necessary to live the life we love.
Today's show is not only for men, it is for the whole family, nuclear and extended, and for men and women who live together. After all, those long-term partnership relationships satisfactorily are proven to be more likely to live longer and happier lives.
Thus, we do invite both men and women, and even our young adult males and our young females to join us in this special celebration and educational program. So, Mia, I believe we do have some outstanding featured guests today from multiple cultures.
Yes, let me introduce the first one, which is Dr. Elder Bonhomme. He's the owner, clinical director of Physical Orlando. He's the president of the Greater Haitian American Chamber of Commerce.
Our second featured guest is Mr. Louis Witter of Jamaican heritage. He's owner of Caribbean Rhythms Radio Network.
And our third guest is attorney Wayne Golden of the Golden Law Group and a representative of the Jamaican diaspora.
And I believe we may have some other guests coming later, but for the time being,
our guest that we have on now, which is is Samuel Roberts. He is for Guyanese heritage. He's the president of the Guyanese American Cultural Association of Central Florida, and also the founder of Caribbean American Passport magazine, news magazine. Welcome all to this important discussion. Before we begin, let me alert the audience that each of our hosts and panelists will have a special offer at the end of this program to aid to you in your wellness and journey. Lenny, you have the lead.
Okay, to begin with, we would like to take the time for each of us participants to share how we personally became involved and committed to the proactive self-care and wellness movement. What were the pains and challenges that motivated us? And what were the life goals we had in mind that could only be achieved with reasonably good health? Let me begin with myself. As I affectionately tell my friends and associates, I was a pork chop eating fool, smoking and drinking and fornicating and doing all the things that depress the immune system and make you sick. And at the time, I went to get a physical exam. One of those exams cost about $100. Back in those days, it was a lot of money. You know, they did the urine, the blood, cardiogram, the whole 9 yards, blood test. And at the end of it, by the way, I also had a very bad skin problem. My face looked like the craters of a moon, like an alligator. So at the end of this exam, what the doctors told me was, you're in perfect health. Perfect health. The way I'm feeling, I'm depressed. I'm looking like an orangutan. Come on, man. So I quit my job and I decided I have to get to know myself. I don't believe what they're saying. And I began to do research. And in my research, one last thing happened that really spurred me on. I was working at the National Urban League at the time, a civil rights organization. And one of the young women there, her name was Aisha Grice. She used to write the astrology column for Essence magazine. She dropped this book on my desk called Rational Fasting by Arnold Ehret. And in this book, he advocated fasting 7 days or more on water. Of course, I thought he was crazy. I'm saying, it's bad enough you telling me to fast from foods, but I got to fast from meat, much as I love pork chops and bacon and red meat. But at any rate, I knew something was wrong. And I said, I better get to it before it gets worse. So I went on a 7-day water fast. And I have to admit to you, during those 7 days, visions of pork chops and ham hocks was running through my mind. But in the end, I cleaned myself out. I became a fruitarian, then a vegetarian, and I've been one since 1973. That's how I began my quest.
Wow, that is awesome, Lenny, to hear that. You've come a long way. Now, what about you, Dr. Bonhomme? What made you personally become focused on wellness?
Well, I guess for me, at an early age, just the concept of wanting to help seeing the elderly aging. So I'd say it was a natural path for me. The feeling that you get, the gratification you get when you help someone. So early on in high school, started in the medical field, do as a volunteer firefighter, uh, going to help, and then take first responders courses. So for me, it's the gratification of helping, providing a solution to help empower, to help strengthen individuals to make sure that they enjoy the quality of life that they deserve and work for during their years.
Okay. Mr. Witter, Lewis Witter, today you are a broadcast owner and a journalist. What made you personally become focused on wellness? We may have a technical problem. Is everyone in hearing Mr. Golden?
Turn on your mic.
You have to unmute
Lewis?
Mr. Golden.
Okay. Yes. All right.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, start from the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Lenny. First of all, I must say thank you to Mia and yourself for inviting me here this evening for this important discussion on men's health. I want to say good evening to the rest of the panel, Dr. Bon Omi, Wayne Golden, and Brother Roberts. Thank you so much for all being here. To answer your question, my first decision to be a better person to myself. Several years ago, about maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I went to my doctor, and he gave me the news that, hey, I was first of all, I was at home one night and I started to go urinate a lot, and I said, hey, something is not right here, because I know my body. And going to the bathroom 3-4 times a night, getting up, something was totally wrong. So the following morning, I went to my doctor and I said, hey, something is not right. And he looked at me and said, hey, young man, you are fully diabetic person. And so obviously I have to accept the news because it's already there. And so I ended up talking to a friend of mine. I called a friend of mine and I said to him, listen, man, I have this diabetic thing, and I don't know what to do. It frightened me. And the first thing the guy said to me, is, we Jamaican, if we want to really be drastic with our answer, we can be very drastic. So the brother looked at me and said, listen, man, boy, I'm sorry. He didn't say, I'm sorry to hear him say, rotted. Me have a brethren, him they just cut off him foot a yard. I mean, just cut his foot off. And so that becomes such a shock to me. It's not that your friend is saying, man, I'm sorry to hear that. He said, my brethren, them just cut him foot off a yard because of the same diabetes. And that hit me right there. And I'm saying, listen, I am not going home when I'm ready to die with any foot missing or any of my limbs missing. And that is what turned me into something that I said, listen, I have to figure out what to do with this diabetic, because I didn't see it in my family. Growing up in Jamaica as a young man, and even as an adult, none of my family members have it. So it's not something that I was used to see in the family trait of mine. And so right immediately after that answer my friend gave me, I said to myself, listen, came home to my wife and said, listen, what is it that we're eating here that is causing me to get into this diabetic mode? And, upon starting my radio station, I know a friend, I met a young lady several years ago. Her name is Sandy. She's a vegan chef. And
Yes.
the answer was, listen, I got to go vegan. And so she eventually, she was the first person that I called when I started the radio station. And I said, listen, I need you to be on this station because I need to be educated. I need to know what to eat, how to eat. And so that is where my journey started. in this wellness program situation.
Wonderful.
Yes, Lewis, you have come a long, long way, but you're on the road of healthy thanks to our girl, our vegan chef Shandy Maurice.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, Attorney Wayne Golden, you are a broadcaster as well. What made you personally decide to become focused on wellness?
Unmute, please.
Yes, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure being here with you all. I think that's a pretty loaded question. For most of us, I think being young makes you believe you can conquer everything. Youth is the answer to all illnesses and sickness. This will never happen to me. You see health problems mostly with older people or people older than you are. But until it hits home, I think for most of us, the change doesn't happen in our life. I grew up understanding that my father's side was diabetic. Every one of his brothers, they were all diabetic. And I grew up kind of expecting to get it myself. And as I grew older, I was kind of surprised I did not have it as yet. And just like Lewis, I went to the doctor and they kept telling me, oh, you're borderline. But I had been trying to, stay physically fit and live well, but still ignoring some of the basic things, diet especially, because, we, especially from the Caribbean, there are certain foods that we think we can't live without, certain meats, certain type of cooking, frying, all these things. So I think eventually for me, what focused me even better on my health was when I was diagnosed, one of the youngest person my doctors ever diagnosed with prostate cancer. And mine was caught very, very, very early. But for my regular visits to my doctor who knew me and knew my body for over 20 years, he saw something that he didn't like. And he basically told me, I needed to go get checked. I went and I got checked. They did some biopsies. They did 10 samples. 9 came back perfect. 1 came back inconclusive. My doctor then decided, I don't like this idea of inconclusiveness. So it was sent to one of the top cancer hospitals here in the United States. And they came back and said it was cancerous. With that diagnosis, of course, your whole world changes. And, I did what I had to do. I eventually had surgery. My surgery was successful. They had just come out with the laparoscopic surgery. And that was 16 years ago. And, I've been cancer-free since. But I must tell you, the impact that it had on me from that very moment I got diagnosed, I started to not only educate myself, but educate my fellow Caribbean men and Jamaican men, because they only to find out that there was a high rate. Our Jamaican men had the highest rate of prostate cancer. So I sort of made it my mission, in a sense, to educate people to go get tested, go get checked, because it's one of those illnesses or cancers that you get that is quote unquote curable. So that sort of focused me more seriously on healthcare and wellness. And the fact that you're getting older, your body does not cure itself like it used to when you're younger. So you have to take those positive steps to assist and to make sure you don't help in destroying your body even more. So for me, that was the fulcrum, that was a turning point. But additionally to that, in my everyday practice as an attorney, especially when I practiced with juvenile cases and criminal cases, I realized that beyond the physical health, mental health was something that was lacking in recognition in our own community. And that in itself led to a lot of other things. Our community in general does not pay enough attention to mental health. I'll see the other folks, when their kids are in trouble or they're in trouble, that's the first aspect of their lives that they start to examine what is my mental health. And we've learned, and I've learned over the years, that there is that link to mental illness, to physical illness, how you think of yourself, how you treat yourself. So I think it's very important for us to talk about health in the broader context, other than just being physically sick, but mentally, people are having issues that are not recognized as illnesses. So I'm happy to be here, and hopefully we'll get to talk to some folks in more detail from our personal experiences.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Mia,
Attorney Wayne Golden.
I don't. Has Mr. Ronnie Walker arrived yet?
No, not yet.
All right. So who's
You'd like
next?
to introduce the next?
Who's next, Mia?
We have Mr. Sam Roberts. Hey, Sam, how are you doing? Welcome to the
Hey guys,
show.
how you doing? Thank you for having me.
Good.
Thank you.
Now, you're a publisher. Thank you. You're a publisher that targets Caribbean American community. What made you personally become focused on wellness?
Well, for me, at a very young age, I was involved in sports, and being involved in sports, you learn the basics of just consistency in terms of exercise and diet. So, I mean, from 0 to in my late 30s, I was still very involved in playing sports on a national level, international level. So, exercise was and has always been key in what I thought was necessary. And basically that coupled with the fact that, just watching your diet, I mean, I'm like Lenny, I can't give him my meat, my red meat and my, meat of any color. Lenny, I'm not giving it up. But as I got old, I just realized I have to, in moderation.
Yeah, man.
I love, you pass a roti by me or a jerk chicken, I'm gone. My resistance is out the window. But just realizing, as Wayne pointed out, as we age, our body changes, and understanding self, to me, is the most important part of the whole process. You got to know you. You got to see the signals, see the things in you as they change, and be conscious of those changes. Right now I'm trying to get back on top of the exercising, and it's basic exercising. It's making sure you get a walk every day. You walk around the block, walk along the street. If you walk 1 block today, walk 1.5 the next day. Just increase and maintain that activity, and that brings you to a healthier lifestyle. And Lenny, one of the other things you said that to me, we need to I'm not sure it works in mental health, but the mental aspect of your approach to health is extremely important. I mean, and I think positive thinking, positive mindset, and approaching your life, your goals with a positive approach to it can have a tremendous impact on things that happen. I'll tell you a sidebar story. In 1993, I just graduated. I was leaving Brooklyn on my way to Jamaica to get an engineering job.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy of mine was driving me. In Brooklyn, those from New York know, on Flatbush, right around Kings Plaza. Got in an accident. Broke just about as many things I can break at one time. 2 ribs, my jaw, left leg, left foot, right arm, right leg, just about everything. And got rushed to the hospital, going through the surgery. The guy who was driving me got almost the exact same injuries. He went to one hospital, I went to the other. His mindset was, I'm going to ride this. I'm going to use this. This is a settlement offer for me. There's an opportunity to, the guy in front of us was definitely wrong. My mindset was, the CAC games in Puerto Rico was in October. It's May. I need to make it back to Guyana to get back in shape to play for the Guyana national team at the CAC games. The difference in where we are at the end of a 2-month period was basically simple. The power of the mind. My objective was to get myself back in shape. I played on the Guyana national team in October. my buddy who was driving me still walked with a limp. Now, I'm not saying, I mean, I'm not going to get into the research about maybe I just listening to his approach to it, his mindset was he did not aggressively fight to get himself back where he wanted to be. He saw the opportunity. I'm going to write this. I'm going to get a major settlement of this. And honestly, maybe I was young and naive. Maybe I should have wrote it or found a balance between the two and got the large settlement. But for me, power of the mind, I was about getting back in shape, getting back and getting all my parts functioning as per normal. And I had the support system of friends who were physical therapists and friends who were doctors and all right, and pushed. And a team wanted us to play together. So that mind and that approach to it shows, in my opinion, the power of the mind over what you can do health-wise and otherwise. Positive thoughts, positive emotions, and positive people around you, truly the sky, there's nothing you cannot achieve. So
Well,
that's my approach to it. So
Sam, that's wonderful. Before we bring Mia in, let me just say this, sort of to support what you're saying. When I went on my health quest, actually, it was the mind, but it was also the spirit. I began to realize that this body, this is a temple in which dwells the spirit, which is the life force of the body. And it is the spirit which vivifies the mind, the positive thoughts that we have. And the reason why these positive thoughts help is because we're being conscious of them. And your consciousness is your direct connection to your spirit.
Yes.
yep.
And another thing I want to add is that what spurred me was the fact that, and I think I want to mention it, every elder in my family who passed away from strokes, heart disease, and diabetes and things like that. Okay, so the handwriting was on the wall. And the final thing I'd like to say about that is that I've learned as a soul therapist who deals with the impact of the mind. We call it soma. You can somatize what you are thinking and feeling, but maybe suppressing, can show up in your body. But I came to learn that many people with diabetes are yearning for the sweetness of life that has gone away. You see, and for many Black people, this is a problem because we've been so oppressed, the sweetness of life. So what is the substitute? Sugar, ice cream, chocolate, candy, and so forth. And finally, it was mentioned earlier, service. That was such a beautiful point because I dedicated myself to becoming a holistic practitioner and to serve and help people like I was helped by people who came to me. So Mia, you are in that category right now, serving the community as a leading advocate in the Caribbean community and the community here in America for health and wellness, not just for men, but for women also and children. What made you personally become focused on wellness?
Well, looking back, I'm a 21-year breast cancer survivor. So surviving that was, I can't even put into words. And I am so grateful to be alive today.
Amen.
And
Amen.
the word survive was my key to stay alive. And that means educating myself about my illness. That means changing my diet and stop eating stuff that I used to eat, red meat. And also having a better communication with my doctor, my, healthcare, and finding ways to, continue to survive health. And then also talking to other, people that, friends would call me and say, hey, I have someone that just diagnosed with cancer. And after talking to them, I started realizing that They hadn't changed their diet. They were still eating the same things. And, that's one of the reasons why I became a certified health, life, and nutrition coach. And it's so important is what we eat. And also coming from a place that I dealt with mental illness, because I'm telling you, and I know Attorney Wayne, when you diagnosed with cancer, you go through some serious depression. I mean, I was crying. I was literally at a point that, and I don't think I've ever shared this, to where I was hugging the toilet and plotting how to kill myself. And if it wasn't for my children that came and sat there and was playing their toys, and I had to whoa, what was I thinking? And I did seek help. And that's another, stigma that a lot of, whether you're Caribbean, non-Caribbean, that, seeking help for, mental illness, it's not about being weak. It just means that you need to get to the root of the problem. And my root was the fear of death. Once I overcame that, then, I continued to strive. I had to get over another issue I was dealing with because of the lymph nodes that they removed, which I have in my left arm, excuse me, lymphedema with cellulitis that I've been dealing with also for the last 21 years. And I was paranoid that people would notice one arm was bigger than the other, and it started playing, in my head that I was hearing people saying things. And after that, you learn to master yourself, and just, I just continue to, do what I do and eat healthy and, again, practice mind wellness, and also educating, those that I can.
Thank you, Mia. That's wonderful. And I can attest to the fact that I'm very much inspired by Mia. We're working together, and she's got more energy than the law allows. She could put that energy in a bottle and sell it. I just wanted to also mention that when we speak of mental health, people should realize this includes emotional health. As in my work as a soul therapist, what I found is when I ask a person, what they feel about certain things, the average person will tell me what they think, which automatically lets me know they're not in touch with their emotions, but they're feeling a lot of things, they're radiating a lot of things. And look at the word emotion, emotion. When you're not in touch with your emotions, it's difficult to go into motion, either at all or in the right direction. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I'm glad that that point came up about the importance of mental health. And let our audience understand that we're not saying that when you need to get assistance with mental health that you crazy. Like if you go to a therapist, you got to be crazy. No, we all have certain distresses and stressors impacting on us. We've had it since we were brought to these shores. Imagine what it was like to be in the Middle Passage. Today is Juneteenth, right? Imagine what it's been like to be enslaved. By the way, we don't call people slaves. They're not slaves. They were enslaved. Okay. Imagine what it's like to be seeing all the lynchings, to have a whole town burned down. So we need to understand some of the roots or factors affecting our mental health, and understand that that's an area where we need to look into. So I think it's obvious by what we've heard here so far today that there is a pattern that leads to greater health and well-being by people who are giving you their firsthand experience. And it's very impressive. And it certainly reveals why we decided to do this program today. So let us use this esteemed assemblage of conscious seekers of health and wellness to see if we can shed some light on breaking the pattern that keeps Black men of color at risk. This the roundtable is coming up. I will direct questions aimed at specific guests. However, any of you feel free to ask questions for clarity or add your own insights or present a different perspective than that offering by the other panelists. Let me begin by asking Dr. Bonhomie, do you find that men of color are often uncomfortable with medical exams? And if so, is there an alternative that they might more readily take advantage of? And does the past horrific experimentation on blacks play a role here?
I think all the above.
Okay.
We have a saying that a lot of time what we feel or what it is that's bothering us, when we get to the physician, that's not what we tell them. So as a result, we cannot be provided with a proper diagnosis or proper cure because we're not telling the right issue. We're not identifying the right issue. And part of it, I believe, is fear. Fear of the unknown, but fear of being labeled, but fear of facing the consequences of what is actually happening. But then life has its course and it will force you to face it if you don't identify it, if you don't acknowledge it at first.
Okay. That is so wise. I find the same thing in my work. You know, doctor, it's self-evident that exercise is one key to good health. What about the complaint by many black men that they're just too busy, they're tired, or they lack the energy to engage in an effective exercise routine or program? What can they possibly do about it? And how many hours should a man commit to exercise in a week?
You know, I think someone mentioned that earlier. It's the mindset. We have to make time. We have to make it a priority. You know, we could do 30 minutes, but if you break it down to 10 minutes, increase your intensity, just being active. Many times we are active, but you're not challenging your heart enough. So if you look at 7 days out of the week, you take 3 to 5 days, 10 minutes a day to 30 minutes a day, that is enough to get you going. And the difficult part is getting started. But once you get started, it's a game changer. But again, it's getting that self-drive, finding your why to start. And I think that will be the driver.
Yes, for me, my wife, Neva, she's a fitness buff, and you women who are into fitness and health, invite your husband to do a session with you. Also, I find on YouTube, you mentioned 10 minutes, doctor. There's so many 10-minute exercise programs or that you can do. And doing those 10 minutes, you can do it what they call interval training.
Interval training.
Okay. Also, somebody also mentioned walking. You'd be surprised how beneficial walking is. Sam, what about the complaint that many black men work long hours, they can't cook, they eat most meals out? Now, how is it possible for them to eat more nutritiously under those circumstances?
You know, the thing about it to me, it's part of the healthy lifestyle. As you know, it's carving out the time to do something you like doing that happens to include exercising. You know, that's the first step in it. I mean, if you can find something you like doing, it could be dancing, it could be playing basketball, it could be playing soccer, it could be playing table tennis or whatever you want to call it. Finding something that you like doing that gives you a chance to exercise at the same time, you forget the fact you're exercising.
Oh, good point.
That's my approach to it. Because, as Doc said, you've got to start. You know, it might start with ping pong. It might start with kicking a soccer ball with your grandson or your son or whoever. It's that little thing. It's the little first step that gets you on the path to, okay, I'm enjoying this, and you got to do it for a little more. As far as the cooking and healthy part is, I mean, even if you're busy as you are, you got to take your health as your responsibility. Almost every restaurant on the road of life right now has an option that's healthy. It's making that right choice. I love burgers, and I cannot give up burgers. You know what I did? I started Burger King without the bun on a salad, and it worked. Yes. It got me to start eating that as opposed to eating the bread. I'd have a grilled burger, slice it up, put it on a side salad. Boom. That was an option that worked for me because it cut me back on the bread, cut me back on the carbs. It was Burger King meal is grilled. So if you want to do it, forget you can't cook. I'm no great cook, but there are options, fast food options. Jerk chicken. You can eat jerk chicken by itself. Forget the hard dough bread. Forget the rice and peas. That's a healthy option. Get the steamed vegetable on the side. I can name. I can go on all day in terms of simple food options, but you got to make that right choice. Whether it's a fast food or a corner restaurant or Walgreens, grab some nuts, grab some walnuts, some cashew nuts, and have them in your car while you're driving. That snacking on that holds you over so you can get a chance to have a healthy meal. It keeps you from getting those cravings that put you on the wrong path of eating something you shouldn't eat. So
Oh, that's great. By the way, if you look at a walnut, for instance, it looks like a brain.
yeah,
And it is brain food.
yeah,
And you put a couple of walnuts in the palm of your hand and you eat them, you will not be hungry for a great period of time.
exactly.
You won't be starved. You see. Also, it's Sam. You were talking about transition, meaning you don't have to do it all in one day. Make a gradual transition into more healthy eating. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just making those. You know, it's for me. My life has been weird. You get the crossroad where you know you've got to make the decision: turn right, turn left, do this or don't do this, and you have that conversation. You have a 10-second conversation with yourself, and if you're not, it's just making that right choice at that point. Do I turn right and go to Burger King? Do I just go straight and go to get home and eat a salad?
Okay.
I tell my kids growing up, if you're going to do something, stop for 10 seconds. If you're not 100% sure you should do it, then don't. And that's my life pattern. Make that 10-second, pause for 10 seconds. Burger King, McDonald's, home, turn left.
All right. One last thing you mentioned earlier about mindset, Sam.
Yep.
And I think we all agree that as a man thinketh, so is he, as they said. But can you pinpoint something that I don't know, an epiphany or some event, something that changed your mind? Okay, because the mind is in the brain. That's part of our body, but we're much more than mind and brain. Can you pinpoint anything in particular that really helped to get you to pay more attention to mindset?
It was. I mean, I don't want to defer back to that accident, but that accident to me, it was eye opener because of the experience. Looking at how my body responded to it and how it affected me. I mean, it's like my brother made a joke. I'm lying in the hospital bed, right hand in a sling, left hand in a sling, both feet up in slings. And my brother comes to sit next to the bed. And he says, "How you feel?" I said, I just knew, even in the middle of the accident, I just knew I couldn't die from this accident. And my sarcastic brother says, many people die thinking they can't die. And I laughed at the moment. And I was like, I don't know if it was my mindset thing. I just couldn't die from the accident. I didn't want to listen to what he was saying. How many people die thinking, well, I can't die from this. But I just had that mindset that there were too many things left in my life that I need to do and I have to do. And that's always been my motivation. When things slow me down or distractors, I mean, I've talked to Wayne quite a few times, and Wayne said, just focus on what you need to do. Forget the detractors. Focus on what you need to do. And Wayne has been like a big brother. I mean, Wayne is old. You look at all the gray beard and stuff. Wayne is like old guy to me. And Wayne has always been a mentor to a lot of us in the criminal association. And Wayne would say, just focus on what you need to do. Forget about all the detractors. And sometimes we need to stop. And I'm not saying ignore your wife or ignore your kids or ignore your neighbor or your best friend. But there's a time when you've got to stop and think about you. And the best analogy for it is when you're on a plane, they tell you, if the plane's going down, what's the first thing to do? Put on your own oxygen mask first. If you can't take care of yourself first, you're of no use to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Stuck with me a long time. Take care of you, and you will be a resource for others. Otherwise, So
That is true.
All right. So let's moving right along.
Lenny,
Doc, yes.
before we go to our next guest, I know Sam has to step out, but I wanted us to wish him. Today is his birthday, so happy birthday and
Oh,
happy Father's Day.
Happy birthday, man.
have a
Thank
happy
you, thank
Sam.
you, thank
All
you.
right. Thank
I just want
you.
to stick a pin. I'm not accepting Father's Day greetings today. I always get one gift, one thing in his birthday and Father's Day certificate. I will not accept the Father's Day greeting today. You have to call me tomorrow and tell me Happy Father's Day. It's a matter of principle. But thank you guys.
All right.
Today is
Well,
my
happy
birthday, and
birthday today, and
Happy
hope you have
birthday,
a
I
good
got
Sam.
one.
friends over, and I need to excuse myself. But I do want to say I do feel honored to be on a panel with these gentlemen. I know most of them from socializing or otherwise, and it is a privilege and honor to be on here. Michelle, thank you for inviting me, and let me know if I can be on
You're
any other
welcome.
panel.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So, Brother
Thank you,
Wayne,
Sam.
Brother Wayne, you, I mean, I don't think you're a psychotherapist anyway, but you are a counselor, right?
Absolutely.
Why do you think it's so hard to get Black people, especially men, into individual counseling, whether it be legal counseling, mental counseling, or therapy? And what does that have to do with their health?
Well, I think it's a false sense of strength. I can beat this by myself mentality that has overcome most men in general. We tend to have a different disposition when it comes on to letting other people direct us, and health is one of those areas where we fall prey to a lot of misnomers. For example, Caribbean men believe in a lot of home remedies. Now, Marky, I'm not saying holistic approaches and home remedies are not good things, but when you have a serious pain in your back or your stomach, and you're going to say everything is gas, that's one of the things that defeats us. Your whole idea that you feel physically fit, you feel physically strong, so nothing can be wrong with you. Or you get, for example, those who have to deal with the idea of prostate examinations, where they've heard about the process, and they don't want that to happen to them. They don't want anybody sticking a finger up their orifice. So these are some of the things we have to contend with culturally. And just the idea of preventative maintenance, don't wait until something breaks down, cannot go any further before you start paying attention. Just your physicals, going to the doctor on a regular basis to get a physical. It's not being part and parcel of how things go in the Black community, and especially with men. Women are more likely, to go and pay attention to their medical needs. Men, on the other hand, as we know, the history has clearly shown how many men have died, and the doctor says, if you had done this, if you had come at a certain time. So it's something that we have to take on head on. We have to start teaching our young men, especially, how valuable it is to their lives to follow through on certain things physically, get checked. It is something that we have to ingrain in them to say, look at your family history, because most things in health are not happenstance. If you have a history of heart disease in your family, if you have a history of diabetes, most Black men have diabetes running rampant through their family. Learn your family history. That's the other thing. That's the other part of it. Sometimes they don't know their family history because it's not something they talk about. If you don't talk about what is happening in your family structure as far as history, and even share your own experiences, most people will fall under the radar. So I think it is a problem, and it's something that has to be addressed formally. and institutionally with our young Black men coming up.
Mhm. Well, Dr. Bonhami, do you feel that our men have a fear of testing, medical and or health related tests, whether it be from a conventional medicine or a alternative medicine? Is that a factor?
The fear is a factor, but I think to Sam's point and Attorney Golding as well too, is that sense of self-security, that sense of self-strength, where because if you don't know, well, the mindset is if I don't know, then it's not bothering me, it's not dealing, I don't have to deal with it. But not knowing that, life will have you, will eventually you have to face it. So that sense of security or false sense of security plays a lot to deal with it. And then, of course, we have access, and knowing that there's also a disparity in the healthcare field. So not having that relatability at times have that effect as well. But I think now we have more options too. So you have healthcare providers that are from the Caribbean or that understands cultural differences. As Attorney Golding mentioned before, we'll talk to our parents, our grandparents. Something hurts them. Oh, I have a gas that's traveling here. The gas is in my knee. Oh, I got a cold in my knee. As a medical provider, as a physical therapist, I understand. I can relate to the to the comments and be able to interpret that differently. Whereas if you go to a non-Caribbean physician or whatnot, as you speak with them in that manner, it's gonna go over their head and not realizing that. So I think part of it, there is a disparity, but at the same time too, as Caribbean, Afro-American, there's that false sense of strength where, well, I don't feel it, it's not there. Or when it comes, I'm young, I can resist, I'm resilient, I'll fight it.
Well, that leads me to a question which we weren't going to ask you earlier, but maybe it's very important to ask you, Doctor. According to the Center for Disease Control, homicide is the #1 cause of death for Black males 44 and under. And 68% of Black men and boys under the 19 die of homicides, accidents, and suicides. Now, it's an uncomfortable question, but what are your thoughts about how this homicide and suicide relates to the health of the young men in our community?
I'm gonna revert back thinking it starts in the family, in the home. Granted, we all have stressors, but having a support system that allows you to vent, that allows you to share, that can have been prevented. But at the same time, if that mental strength is not there, that ability to communicate, and I think you mentioned it earlier too, to be in tune with your emotion, with yourself, and identify those precursors that as not weaknesses per se, but as not as time taking, but something that's luring and where you can reach to somebody else and able to share and say, hey, you know what, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm experiencing, to be able to get that counsel, at least be guided to address or manage those particular emotions. So sadly to say, if we don't have that intact family unit, that village that we used to call that raise, it takes a village to raise a kid, and nowadays we realize that village is missing. It's fragmented, and as a result too, you see the consequences. So the family unit, the village, the community, collaborating, again, that can help offset some of these numbers.
Well, it's interesting because in a way of speaking, suicide especially, but maybe also homicide, it's a sort of escape in terms of dealing with reality. And Mr. Witter,
yes, sir.
It's well known that opioid addiction is a major health problem in this country. Do you see this as a major problem affecting Black men? And if so, why? How would you go about helping them shift from that into more self-caring and a wellness lifestyle?
Well, yes, it is a major problem in our society. It is a crisis in the Black community that I think need to fix. And one of the things that we have to do is to educate ourselves. A lot of You know, our brother said it earlier on. Education is the key. If we know that there are certain things that is not good for us, and it comes back again to parenting. It come all the way back to parenting, because nowadays a lot of us as parents, we allow our kids to get out of the house too soon. 17, 18, 19-year-old, they're gone. And so we're not getting the chance to mold our children the way we grew up back in the island, where at 24 or 25,
Yeah.
26, we're still under the roof of our parents getting their guidance. And so in America, it's a different culture altogether. Culture have a lot to do with the things that we get into, our kids get into. And I think, you know, a lot of us parents, we becomes friends too much to our kids.
Hello.
We become so much friends, and so we can't steer them the way we're supposed to steer them out of this, out of that, because guess what? They have their cell phone and they're gone. We don't even get a chance to tell them to listen, to monitor their cell phone, to see what they're looking on and who they're linking up with, and the gangs and the company that they keep every day. We allow our kids to be too free in this society. And so because of that, lack of education as well, this becomes a problem in our society. And yes, it can be fixed, but education is the key.
Well, now, every other corner you go on in America is what? A drug store. Okay. And for every drug advertised on TV, most of which, if I'm not mistaken, are done by the pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
For a specific condition, there might be about 10 life-threatening side effects that go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to answer this, Mr. Witter, and then I want the Dr. Bonhamid to chime in after you. How can men balance the need for drugs of any kind when necessary with more wellness-oriented treatment that deals with the underlying conditions and not just the symptoms?
For me, it's a life. This wellness, this taking care of ourselves, as Brother Robert said, you have to focus on yourself before you can help others. It is a lifestyle change. When something happened to you, when you're diagnosed with any of the diseases that we're talking about, whether it's cancer or diabetes or anything, my friend, it is a lifetime style change that we have to make. We have to make that lifestyle, because we can't sit down, depend on drugs. Again, culturally, I come from Jamaica. Since I come to America, I am taking drugs, pharmaceutical stuff. As Brother Golden said earlier on, listen, we do the bush thing, we do the herb thing. So for us to really get off of these commercial drugs that we are bombarded with, 10 or 15 of them. I mean, I have friends that when I go see them, my gosh, they're taking 12 or 5 or 6 different drugs. So we have to make a conscious effort to change our lifestyle and become more vegan, to become more education about first of all, what we're supposed to eat and how we eat these things. Because there's a way for us to eat to be healthy. It's not everything that we throw down our throat is healthy for us, but there are ways that we're supposed to eat. A perfect example, we didn't know that we should not drink water while we're eating our meal. You're not supposed to be drinking water. Your saliva is enough. We're supposed to allow our saliva in our mouth to digest the food. Otherwise, when we go and get that nice big plate of food and sitting down and we're drinking water and we're drinking the juice with it, it's just washing down the nutrient of the food in our gut.
You mean we should meals?
So it is education. It is a total lifestyle change that we have to make consciously, because we cannot allow ourselves to be hooked on these drugs. We have to find a way to balance it. Yes, you have to take certain things that the doctor said, but we can cook as men. we can cook and prepare the right food to help our bodies.
All right. Doctor?
I wanted to go back. I think I said the family unit, it goes back, they use it as an outlet, and then the family unit were communication. So it numbs the pain. It's not dealt with.
Oh.
So when you have the family unit, you have the ability to communicate. And now we live in social media, so everything is just respond, but there's no really emotional connection. There's no bonding. So you desensitize.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you desensitize. So I think to deal with that, you have the family unit, you have the outlet where you're able to talk about it, because all these things, if you have someone that you can talk about it, you can spell what it is that you're feeling, you're experiencing. That urge or that drive will tone down, and at least allow time for clarity.
Well, now, okay. When we think of drugs, we don't only think of drugs in terms of medical drugs or mind-altering drugs, but we think of preservatives, additives that have a drug-like effect on the body. One of those that's been mentioned a lot is the dangers of genetically modified foods versus natural or organic foods. In your view, Dr. Bonghamid, is this scientifically proven that these genetically modified foods have an adverse effect on the body? And if so, whether they are not proven, I mean, is there an alternative to that?
It is. It's not natural. It's not natural. So as you look at your body, and if you look at science as well too, when you look at 10, 20 years ago, how food was being manufactured to produce, and you look at our soil sample now, it doesn't have the same amount of nutrients. It's different. And that's why now too, you find a lot of providers are encouraging supplementation, either to taking vitamins or extra to help build your system.
Right.
So overall, even when you go to the stores, certain products you look at their life, you look at their lifespan, and you see how long it takes them to rot or at least frizzle, and some never frizzles at all. And you wonder, life, you have a beginning and an end, but these things are going forever. So your body itself is an organic being. So you may not notice the effect because your body is designed to fight whatever comes to it.
Yes.
Even if you get injured. And I tell clients that your body is designed to heal itself. However, you need to add the right amount of stress to it. You need to coach it properly to get the maximum results. But our body is an amazing machine and it's designed to fight with everything. But it gets to a point, as we age, we notice things change. Your capacity change. So as a result, the rebounding effect is not as efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not as efficient, you need support.
Yes.
The right food, the right nutrition, the right amount of rest, sleep, also help facilitate the bodies to respond to heal.
Now, just like people will tell you, if you go to Mexico, don't drink the water. Now, on the other hand, some critics of people who emigrate here, whether it be from Mexico, South America, even from the islands, they claim that people of color are more subject to disease here and thus a threat to the health of the nation. Is there any truth in that claim, Mr. Golding?
That's absolutely ridiculous. And it's something that, it harps back to really prejudicial opinions that people form. As a matter of fact, most people who are immigrating to the United States have to go through a battery of medical testing for all sorts of diseases. And we're talking about people who are migrating here as legal permanent residents. And sometimes, we get, we're in the era now where everybody's so nervous about vaccinations. They tell you, especially if you're from the Caribbean, there's a telltale sign. If we all roll up our sleeves, you'll see a big pot mark that we probably have from being vaccinated by those big fat needles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Health consciousness has always been a big focus in the Caribbean and other countries. And I'll tell you, most of the diseases that have happened that have ravaged other countries have actually come from the mainland
Hello.
here in the United States and have traveled into countries, right across the world. So, for somebody to paint it with a broad brush like that, it shows, that sort of mindset, which is something we all have to fight over, mentally. But even here in the Afro community, it seems like what has been imparted as unhealthy stuff on us, we're being blamed for that. Let's get back to some of the food that we talk about that we eat. You must remember that some of the things that people consider now delicacies, they travel from all over the world to get the stuff. The only reason why we had to eat this stuff was those were the scraps. Those were the only things available to us as a people.
Yes.
When we had to eat after these people, the oxtail,
Yes.
the chicken feet, the gizzards, the lights, the fish head, all of these things. Now we have found ways to make them succulent and attractive to the rest of the world. People travel hundreds of miles
Yes.
to go up to the Geechee folks to eat what they eat, to go down south to New Orleans, to whatever. But it was the only reason we ended up with these foods, which are sometimes now we're finding out that are not really good for us, is because that's all we could get. So when they try and blame the victims as the perpetrators, it's a common theme that we see. So it's all poppycock, and we know that. And
So
just to close, and on top of that, I want to give kudos to all those immigrants who are the frontline workers in this country,
all right.
who are now the doctors, the teachers, the ambulance drivers,
Yes,
all
sir.
of these people who are contributing to the
Amen.
health
Yes.
of this country.
Amen to
So, if they want to blame, let them blame, but the results
right.
speak for themselves.
Now somebody else wants to.
Mhm.
No, Len, I wanted to chime in, and
Yes, please.
I remember growing up in Haiti. Our parents they had those canneries that filled with water, and they were peeling aloe and put it in there and making us drink it.
How about that?
We hated it. We didn't have any bad taste for it. We just didn't want to do it. And it wasn't until 20 years later here in the United States, we're like, oh, aloe vera this, aloe vera that, and I'm like, we've been using that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but we just didn't have the
Yep.
industry to monetize it,
Yeah.
to really understood its value. But our grandparents have been doing that,
Yes.
and we've been, benefiting from it, but without really understanding its value.
Yes.
And to see now 20, 30 years later, we're like, wow, this has these benefits that we did not know. And we saw the difference that it made.
Well,
Well,
it's called infused water.
Yeah.
You look at almonds, it goes crazy back home.
Yes.
Okay.
You look at bulgur wheat. We thought that used to be the food for the poor. That's why they call it. It's food
Well,
for the poor.
now I want to speak on that right now because isn't it ironic that we have thrown away the brown rice to eat the white rice? Okay, we've thrown away, even in Africa and the Caribbean, the raw black sugar with all the minerals in it to eat the white sugar.
Yes.
We've thrown away that black salt with all the minerals in it to eat the white salt.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Convenience and marketing.
All right. But now there's another thing. Let's face it, Mr. Golden. Isn't it true that many immigrants and also native-born Black men just don't have health insurance and do not go to the doctor because they can't afford it? That's another reason. What's the alternative for such people who, even for the undocumented, who fear they'll be turned in? What do they do when they can't avail themselves of traditional health services?
Well, that's why we give kudos to those people in our communities who have established clinics and these kinds of options that are not available for our people of color right across the community, whether they're immigrants, undocumented, or people poor. we have working professionals, even in my profession, that can't afford health insurance. So imagine what it means for a family who would have to pay that out of pocket. We as a community, though, we really have to concentrate on providing where we can find the resources, some basic health services and health diagnosis for our people, because I mean, it will eventually save their lives.
Yeah.
You know, so many people walking around with hypertension, for example, is a silent killer in our community. And you know, it's within our hands as professionals who maybe have that contact or those opportunities to provide some sort of pro bono healthcare. I mean, that cannot be the solution, but it's a start, because
Yes,
the
sir.
problem is real. You know, people are dying because they don't have insurance.
Yes.
Well, I can attest to that, because both as a holistic practitioner as well as a soul therapist, I have a sliding scale, and I do some pro bono work also. It's absolutely necessary.
If I could,
Sure.
in on
Please.
that question,
Please.
Lenny. One of the things, again, it comes back to education and being aware of your surrounding and the things that are available for you. You know, I find that as a businessman going through life here in America, sometime, you know, as you know, your own self-employed person, you're out of insurance in between getting a job or having insurance for yourself. And so one of the things that I have done is talk to my doctor. You know, when I get the chance to see my doctor, I talk to my doctor. And I have got the advice over the years from different doctors to call the manufacturers. Every single manufacturers in America that manufacture any form of drugs have some form of community programs, some form of programs that the people who cannot afford insurance, they can apply and get those benefits. I mean, I can tell you because I'm on it even right now. I have I do insulin, and one of the things that I do is go straight to the manufacturer. And those manufacturers, the government pay them billions of dollars to research. And so they all have some form of program to assist the poor and the people who cannot afford insurance. So again, the people, if you're listening out there, whatever drugs you're on or medication you're on, you can get some form of assistance from the manufacturer of those drugs. It's all about education and knowing. My last point on this, I used to go to the Caucasian doctors when I come here. I have totally changed that over the years, and no disrespect to any of them. But I go make sure that when I go to see a doctor, I am talking to a doctor that is from overseas. It doesn't matter if they're from the Caribbean. It doesn't matter which part of the world they're from. They have a different mindset. They are the one that will help you because they know where we are coming from. And so those are some things that I would love to pass on to some of our listeners.
All right.
Get these things because they are available to us.
Okay, ça va, Dr. B. Is it an urban myth, Dr. B, that carrying cell phones in the front or hip pocket can cause erectile dysfunction or kill sperm or possibly cause colon cancer? If so, what can men and women do to counteract the effects of this radiation from these cell phones?
Well, in the world that we live in now, so we're using headsets, radiation affects it. So because we don't readily see it, or if no one close to you has been affected, you may dismiss it. But overall, so technology has many advances, but at the same time, it also has disadvantages or cause. There's a cause and effect. So in light of that, of course, we recommend, don't keep it close to your body. Well, now there's cases that you can use that helps minimize the, spread or contain radiation, if you will. So we don't want to be, you don't want to experience that. To come to find out 10 years later, 20 years later, as a result of those habits that you were having, that's what led to your condition. So I encourage, hit those caution, keep it away, either pocketbook or away from you, to not have to experience it.
Let me underscore that, doctor, because I went to a health practitioner who was practicing energy medicine, and they noticed on my side of around my intestines, there was some kind of darkness, some kind of issue going on. Where do you think I was keeping my cell phone? In a case, right there. I hurry up and did just what you suggested, doctor. I went on Amazon.com and I got a radiation case with radiation shield on it. And I always have that shield between my body and the phone. And I see so many young people, especially women, with these cell phones in their back pocket. Not only is it susceptible to being pickpocketed, but it's also a possibility of getting radiation in the arse. So
Yes.
a word to that. You're right. Put it in your pocketbook. Okay. Now,
And Louis, also too, I just want to add that also women are putting their cell phones in their bras.
In their bosom.
Not a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Well,
too close to the heart.
well, Mia, since you spoke up, we're gonna end this round of questionings until we get our final questions in with you. Men of color often act as if you're nagging them when you try to get them to be more conscious about self-care and wellness. I want you to share with us, what have you found to be the best way to inspire our men of color to become more proactive about their health? And also, can you add in there a little bit about the food preparation? Because many of our brothers, this stymies them, just how do I eat to live instead of living to eat? So would you speak on that, please?
When it comes to nagging men to do things, we have to stop, because they don't want to be treated like, their mother. Because, growing up, your mother always nagged you, do this, do that, do that. And you start to resent it and you start rebelling. So, for wives that are listening, when you're in a relationship, whether it's, marriage or your significant partner, that it is a 50-50 relationship and we have to respect each other. And also, if we want them to do certain things, we have to ask them kindly and, do things together. Just like, you may cook together, you may an exercise together. Let's get healthy together. So it's not always just about him, even throw in there that, I got some things, sweetheart, I need to work on. So help me. And, go about it on that approach. And again, teamwork, make the dream work.
Okay, well, now, one last thing for you, Mia. I've heard you mention that we need to listen to our body more, okay, in terms of possible things happening. Could you be a little more specific about what that means and how do you do it and how did you do it in your life?
Our body will give us signs and we have to pay attention to it. Means if, for example, if you're getting, continuous headaches and you may take something, it doesn't go away. Comes back again, that is a red flag. If you're getting pains, whether, it's in your back, your foot, whatever parts of the body, and after taking, something, a pain reliever, it doesn't go away. The doctor always tell you, if the pain is consistent, go seek help and get to the root of the problem. Secondly, Google doesn't have an MD medical. Stop Googling. And I want to say that because I'm also guilty of that, because one time I was having pains in my my right side, my stomach and going around to my back. And I Googled and it came up that it could be my kidneys, and I'm starting panicking and everything. and stuff. And I called my niece, which is an RN, and she just like, go to the doctor, go to the hospital, go get checked. And it's a good thing that I went, because when I went there, they did an MRI, and come to find out, it was my gallbladder, and I needed to have surgery. So if I would have been sitting there just listening and, just watching, taking advice from Google, or trying to take some medication, it would have been worse. So again, pay attention to your body. It's going to tell you when something is wrong.
Okay, so now, thank you, Mia. We have some questions that we want each of our participants to answer. There's 3 main questions. We're coming close to the end of the program, so I want you to answer it in a way to maybe inspire and trigger people to know more, because we don't have a lot of time left, but give it your best shot. Each one of you, the first question for each one of you is, let's now address the elephant in the room, COVID-19. How do you find Black men are dealing with whether or not to vaccinate and the issue of mandatory vaccine passports? What is your perspective on it? Let's begin with Mr. Golden.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you how I approached it. Of course, Ronald Reagan, who probably is not one of my favorite politicians, but he coined a phrase years ago, glasnost, trust but verify. So what my approach was, a wait and look at the numbers, statistical approach, because we all know the history of some medical experiments in this country and all over the world, as a matter of fact. So for me and my wife, we sat and we looked at the numbers, and we used our common sense as well as doing some research to decide whether we were going to get the vaccine or not. At the end of the day, we decided to get it because I wouldn't say convinced ourselves, but we were satisfied. And that's one thing I would encourage people to do. Just don't go off what you're seeing on social media and all of these practitioners. Everybody thinks they have your best interest at heart. But one of the things you have to look back at, we're in the age of information, and not necessarily Google, as Mia said, but there are ways to get good information. And look at those times, how many vaccines that we've gotten and where we had no information. So it's up to the individual, but it has to be a practical, just not, I don't believe type of argument that you use. You have to do what is practical for you and using your common sense.
Thank you. Mr. Witter?
Yes, the same approach. I think we have to use our common sense. There is a lot of videos and audios, whatever it is, for people on social media sending out all type of different crazy scenarios on the vaccine program. And so a lot of us get caught up in these things. And I think, again, it comes back to education. We have to educate ourselves. And this is what a lot of us don't do as Black people. We don't take the time to educate ourselves properly in terms of what it is that this product do for us, what's the effect. Even if you go to your doctor you should be able to sit down and have a conversation with your doctor to say, what are the benefits, what are the the don'ts, the side effects. Most of us have some form of in with a doctor somewhere. And so if we continue to educate ourselves, we can't go wrong. People are going to make their choice, and we all make our choice. We all should make the choice. For me and my wife, again, just like Brother Golden, we sat down and we look at all the different things, why we should or should not take this vaccine. What is the long-term benefit and the short-term benefit for us taking it? And so our choice was to take the vaccine because it's necessary. We have to move amongst people. We have to do what we need to do. And we have to make sure, as again, for me in the radio business, I was talking about it a lot. And because of that, I go through certain form of education about it. And so I had was to set also an example for the people that I'm speaking with to say, hey, listen, this thing is as safe as, but nothing is 100% safe. So we have to allow the things, again, the lifestyle that we have, we have to allow that to work along with the vaccine. Don't just take the vaccine and depend on the vaccine as if it's 100% proof. We have to make sure that we get our immune system up. We have to go in the sun between 11 and 1 and get the vitamin D that we're supposed to get. Those are the time that we go in the sun to get that vitamin D. We have to eat properly. We have to move from having only 10% of vegetable on our plate to 75%, if that's what we need to do. This is the time to up everything in terms of our health. And so the people, as Black people, yes, we are the people that are affected more of this from this pandemic. My doctor is an Asian doctor. And the first time I just about 2 or 3 months, I went and see him say, hey, Louis, you take the vaccine? I said, yes, doc. Him said, good. Because you know, Black people like yourself, dark colored people like yourself, you are the one who's dying because of lack of vitamin D. Education is the key right here. Vitamin D will allow us to do what we need to do with the vaccine.
Thank you. Dr. V.
You know, I think for me, both sides have valid reasons. I think you have many who are looking at, excuse me, at statistics, many who are looking at history, and many who are looking at how the current body is manifesting as a result of it as well. And when you look at both, and keeping in mind with what everyone else said as well is, you know, it's a supplement. it's not an all-in. It's a supplement. So you still have to do your due diligence as far as amplifying your body through the natural foods, through the water, through hydration, through rest, and then the vaccine. So what I've recommended is, you know, do the research, look at your body, look at your concerns, but at the same time, what issue you're dealing with personally with your body that prevents you, or your own conviction as it relates to how you plan to address the vaccine or overall, because eventually, looking at the progression of the world, the governing body, what will be the requirements?
All right, thank you, Mia.
As for me, I won't say no. Or tell anybody no not to get that vaccine. For myself, because of my underlying conditions, I'm still consulting with doctors, my doctors, whether to get the vaccine because of experience that just getting a B12 shot or a cortisone shot, because of the condition I have, the lymphedema, cellulitis in my left arm, my arm has broke out and I have to go to the hospital. So until we come to a plan of action on how to prevent a bad recourse of the vaccine, then once that's established, yeah, definitely, you know, in getting that. And again, it's all about, you know, educating yourself and not, you know, watching media and stuff, because, you know, they hype everything up. And also, as Louis said, we've got to wrap up our immune system and still continue to take precaution and washing your hands and sanitizing everything in your house, like, you know, you've always been doing.
Okay. For me, I'm not going to make that personal decision for Black men or anyone else, but here's what I say. Whether you take a vaccine or not, I'm going to echo what others have said. You need to learn, what can I do personally without depending upon anyone outside of me to strengthen my immune system and help my body to heal itself? Whether it be getting the sunshine every day for D3, because all people with COVID are seriously low in vitamin D3. And so many people who don't have COVID are low in it. A lot of the prostate cancer has to do with lack of zinc, vitamin C, zinc, etc. That's the first thing. And I believe what all have said about education. Stop depending upon someone to tell you what to do. Begin to do your own research and get more than one opinion.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I will say from personal experience, you mentioned lifestyles. I've been a vegetarian since 1973, but not just a vegetarian, a holistic health practitioner. I have 5 children. None of them have ever been vaccinated, and none of them have any health problems. Okay. They've gone to school. We've got letters of exemption on religious basis. But I'm not going to tell people you should or should not get a vaccine. Take personal responsibility. Okay. The second question, which we'd like everyone to answer, is what role, if any, does consciousness and spirituality play in helping Black men to step up their self-care and wellness game? Again, Attorney Harding, could you start us off? Golden, rather?
Yes. It's an internal process, about spirituality. It's different from religion. A lot of us get caught in that whole idea of doctrine and all of that stuff and religion. But your inner thoughts, your inner peace is what your spirituality is about. If your mind is not healthy, your body will not be healthy. And I encourage people, like something Sam said earlier, you got to take some time to think before you do anything, before you make a decision. They say a second of pleasure can cost you a lifetime of pain. So I think it's very important that we understand that within ourselves, we have so much power. And just making those decisions that not only will affect our life or other people's lives, especially when it comes on to your health. Again, if you're not around, you can't take care of the problems that you think you're there to take care of. And your health is number one. And don't take it simple. I tell people all the time, I'm allergic to pain. The minute I feel a little hitch or something, I'm calling that doctor. I'm going, because for one, I'm paying a lot of health insurance anyway, but that's his job, that's their job, that's a professional's job. So if you are feeling something, don't delay, because delay is danger. We know so many people who have had heart attacks, who have had strokes, because they're just waiting all the way till tomorrow to go, whatever. Especially in the society that we live in, where access is there. If you have that access, please don't be afraid to utilize it. Don't be afraid to go to the emergency room, because it's your life you're dealing with.
All right. Mr. Witter.
Yes. He is the temple of the Lord. And for those of us who believe in that, it is very important that we treat that body that the Lord gave us as that temple, as he said it is. To be conscious, you have to be in an environment, spiritually, mentally. You have to make sure that you're not somebody who is wishy-washy. You have to read and understand the book of the law that said, hey, if you believe that you're not supposed to eat pork, you don't eat pork. And maybe you go down the road and the pork smell good and you take a little piece because you're not conscious enough to say that is not what I need in my body. You go down the road, you get a little piece of shrimp or whatever the case might be, but you're wishy-washy. So again, being conscious and understand that your body is that temple, and whatever you put in it is very, very important for that temple to stay alive, is very, very important.
All right. Thank you. Dr. B, spirituality and consciousness.
I had a client of mine, we talk about that. I think it comes down to spirituality, but know thyself, be in tune with yourself, and be responsible. Because as you are in tune with yourself and you're responsible or acknowledge the self and be aware, that awareness, and I think then you begin to have that synchronicity within the body, and spirituality will lead and be submissive to it, or be sensitive to it.
All right, thank you. Mia?
As for me, I do meditation, which is good to help, mental wellness. And it also helps me to, clear my mind and from unwanted things. Because, we deal with so much stuff throughout the day that, in the morning I wake up, I do meditation to start my day on a positive note. At night, I do meditation to just clear my head from anything and to sleep peacefully. And also, meditation, to commune with God, seek wisdom and guidance, and also, eat foods that heal our body. That's so important.
Okay, for me, I became a soul therapist because when I went to school and they defined psychology, they said it's the study of the mind and human behavior. But when I went around the world and met many different saints and sages of many different religions, backgrounds, they said, and I looked at the dictionary of etymology, it said that the root psyche in psychology, core meaning is the animating part of your being. So I said, well, where is the spirit in this psychology? Well, on the walls of the monuments in ancient Egypt, or Kemet, it said, man, know thyself, which has been mentioned. But here's the thing that many of us don't realize in terms of spirituality and consciousness. The self is not essentially the costumes we wear, our bodies, our minds, our nose, our bank book, our materials, our fame, our fortune. No, the self is that eternal part of our being, which we call the spirit. And all your scriptures say the spirit is of the same essence as our creator. The spirit is the life force within us. In Latin, it means, spiritus means breath. So what does that mean? It means that whatever healing dimension you want to go into, however you want to deal with COVID or not, intellect alone does not completely serve you. In my practice, the main currency that I use is truth and consciousness. Why? Because consciousness is your direct connection to your creator, because it's made in the image of the creator. Your spirit is, and your spirit uses consciousness in the world. So when you are not being conscious, you are susceptible to all kinds of dis-ease, I call it, whether it be body, mind, or whatever. Okay, so when you suppress consciousness, you invite dis-ease, and therefore the truth and love and consciousness are all synonymous with our creator. That's my approach to it. The last question is, it is Caribbean American Heritage Month, and the key to every culture seems to be food and custom. How can we integrate healthy living with our unique and beautiful cultures that we all have been brought up in or are part of? Okay, let's start again with Attorney Harding.
Well, part of the problem with integration is that people try and attach themselves to the most popular part of somebody else's culture, whether it's the language, whether it's the food, whatever. So the transition often is not in a way where it's necessarily the best part of it. For example, the first thing that some people learn in another language is a bad word, what we call a bad word or an expletive or whatever. They learn to say those things. But it's the same thing when we're transferring culture and healthy living and food. Because I'll tell you, for Jamaica in particular, everybody knows about the Rastafarians now. But part of their beginning in the 1950s had to do with diet and just a simple fact that you should not be consuming salt, you know, as simple as it was. And now it's sort of transitioned into so many different aspects where people think it's just about the music, think it's about the worship of Haile Selassie. People are wearing dreads now as a fashion statement, so to speak. But, you know, there are great things about the different Caribbean cultures and the healthy part of the Caribbean culture. People used to get up, go to the beach every morning. They swim, they exercise, they eat properly, they eat natural foods. You're talking about people who are saying they're vegetarian, pescatarian now. That was there from day one. It's just that now it's commercialized and everybody's paying attention to organic food now. All our foods that we planted back in the days in the Caribbean was organic. So there are positives to transfer. It's just that most of it has gotten lost in that transfer. And if we go back to some of the life lessons we learned on how to grow your food, how to store your food, how to preserve your food, I think it will be a valuable lesson in the culture transfer.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Mr. Witter.
Yes, I give thanks and praise that we get the opportunity to celebrate a cultural month like this in America to show the contribution of what we Caribbean people have done in this country. That is a good thing. But most of us comes from the island. When we come here, we get so involved and caught up with the American system that within 7 years of our life here, that's when our health start going down. Because one, we don't walk anymore. Every time we have our nice, beautiful cars. If we're just going down a block, we drive. We don't walk. We don't get into the sun anymore because, hey, man, I don't want to get too black. I want to look cool and light and white. And so those are things that we don't do. We continue to eat the same food, even when we are 20, 30, we eating the same food that we were eating when we were young. And someone mentioned earlier on, we can't continue to eat the same food when we're 25, 30, and now we're 50. We're eating the same dumpling and rice and sugar with full of oil and expect to live. And so, yes, we have good food in our country. Yes, our foreparents did what they needed to do to make sure the oxtail and the pigtail and all of that stuff that they get on the back end, they make sure that they spruce it up nice and it becomes a nice sounding and tasting food now. But not all of that we need to continue to eat, because not every way that we were eating those food or they taught us to eat is correct. And so, again, education of what we're supposed to eat, when we're supposed to eat, and the last point I make, when we come into this country, a lot of us become lazy. So our health also deteriorate because of that.
All right, thank you, Dr. B.
I think it's a great opportunity. When we talk about exchange program where you have all this multicultural exchange and there's a lot of positive and negative, but I think if we look around, there's more similarities amongst us. So being able to use those and hold our culture, especially the good parts where we can share and exchange those, I think if we take those to heart and start practicing those, we can see a change. Yes, food, mannerism, all that comes into play. As Louis mentioned, when we come to the United States, of course, you found convenience, so that takes precedent, but also the lifestyle that you live because you're trying to make it, as we call it. You want to live the dream, the American dream. Something gives, but as you strengthen your foundation and you bring your priorities in order, and as we get older, you begin to reset your priorities. As you reset your priorities, take the goods, strengthen them, pass them on to your children, grandchildren as well, so those can become the breathing, living matters within the family unit and share that among cultures.
Hmm. Mia, you're one of our queens of culture. What have you to say about this?
You know, first of all, I have to say a special thank you to my friend Sandy Moraes, because this book, I don't know if you guys can see, it's
Yes.
Vegan Recipe for Life, her cookbook. Um, I've learned to, again, eat healthy. She is like my go-to consultant when it comes to eating healthy. And I love my, my Jamaican food, my rice and peas. And I've learned to even one of the recipes she have is that removing the rice and adding quinoa, making a rice and peas. If you want spaghetti, you can change that to something else. And squash, you can do that. Also, we love our macaroni and cheese, or as the Trinis call it, macaroni pie. She has substitute that with cashew cheese sauce. Delicious. Even, the shakes, healthy shakes. They're all natural. She's taught me how to make my own almond milk, and I even have my granddaughter helping me make shakes, and she loves it. So, starting, with our young children as well, teaching them how to eat healthy and making healthy choice, that when they get older, if they're passing a McDonald's or like a fast food, they will go somewhere else, a healthier, or they'll just go home and fix something to eat. So again, healthy eating starts at home. That's something that I was brought up on. My mother was an old West Indian woman, and trust and believe, she eat healthy, lived to she was 94 years old, not one wrinkle on her face. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yep.
Well,
Old school.
I wasn't born in the Caribbean. That's where my heart is. That's where I'd rather be sometimes. I'm reminded of a president of a so-called third world country. It wasn't in the Caribbean, it was in Africa, but he said something which I found very insightful. He said, the problem with you people, you're sitting underneath the mango tree and you're looking up and letting the mango hit you in the head. It's more than just our, the culture and the customs that we know of. My advice is that we should go back, as some of you have said, to the roots of our culture, okay? And we should include in that spiritual culture, meaning what do we have in common? What drives our culture? What is the life force of our culture? Right now, I would like to move on, if I may, Miss Mia, and summarize some of the things that we've learned in today's session before we get to the office, okay? To be very brief, one of the main things was service. Our Black men, and all of us, let's not just think about our health, but how can we be of more service to our community, to our family, to our loved ones, to our friends? Okay, let's approach our health from that point of view also. Because if we are more in tune with our health and well-being, we're going to be better able to work better, to fulfill our dreams and visions, and protect and take care of our families. Another thing that came out is that our men should look at the history, the health history in your family. Is there heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, Alzheimer's? These are warning signs that you need to go and find out about it. And I would say that if you can't afford to go to, to have medical insurance, you buy them Gucci pants, you buy that bling bling, you go to the movies and spend $100. At least go get some kind of examination from somebody to find out what your susceptibilities are based upon your family history. Also, look at getting into health as a transition. You don't have to do it all in one day. begin to educate yourself, as has been said, and get different opinions, do your own research, talk to people who've been there. These gentlemen and lady on the panel, you need to talk to these people, ask questions, because they've gone through it. They're not just speaking out of no book in some library. They're speaking about firsthand spiritual experience. In addition, look for alternatives, meaning, most of us understand that we kind of know that the lifestyle and diet that is a typical American diet is wanting. So let us begin to look for alternatives and implement them little by little in our lives. Mia?
Now, let me introduce our special offers from our guest. First, my guest co-host, Lenny, you have a special offer?
Yes, I do. I'm offering a 1-hour free soul therapy session. Soul therapy is healing through consciousness. Its purpose is to accelerate healing or remediation of dis-ease, not just in the body, but in the individuals, relationships, or organizations, to reduce the suffering and the distress and trigger the will and energy to act. If you are interested in that, finding out more about it, use the code word RISK, R-I-S-K, to indicate that you've watched this program. And you can contact me. I'm going to give you my, you can call or text 347-989-4147. That's 347-989-4147. Or you can email lburg.soultherapist@gmail.com. That's LBURG.SOULTHERAPIST, lburg.soultherapist@gmail.com, or call or text 347, that's 347-989-4147. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny. And our second offer, Dr. B.
Yes. So you may not be aware that your walk says something about you. Do you know what your walk says about you? So our offer is to offer you a gait analysis. Basically, it will tell you, are you an athlete? Are you in pain? Do you have some type of injury? Okay. So your walk says something about you. Come find out what your walk says about you. Call us at 321-369-9733. 321-369-9733, or Orlando@physical.com. Email us at Orlando@physical, FYZICAL.com.
And if they would like to become a member of the...
Yes. The president of the Greater Haitian American Chamber of Commerce. To become a member, simply visit our page at GAC.org, GHACC.org, where we invite you to connect with like-minded individuals to help provide resources, to help train and maintain our businesses, but more so to promote trade among our Caribbean community.
Thank you, Dr. B. And our third offer, Lewis?
Yes, we operate a 24-hour Caribbean radio station, and every Saturday between 5 and 6, we have a very informative show called Eating Healthy with Sandy. I mentioned her name, you just show her book. She's a vegan chef, and she brings everything, all the professionals as much as possible, doctors from all walk of life, to educate us every Saturday between 5 and 6. We are offering a free 1 month advertising to our listeners this evening. And those advertising will run in between those shows that we have over 6,000 listeners and over 44 countries listen to us every week. For more information, you can call 407-769023. Thank you.
Could you repeat that number, Lewis, please, one more time?
407-676-9023, or you can hop onto our website at crrfm.com.
Thank you.
And our fourth offer, Attorney Wayne Golden.
Well, I just invite people to listen to us every Saturday on WKB 1680 with myself and, of course, Diana Lady D. Taylor, as I host our weekly radio show, Law Talk, Real Talk, where we talk about those issues. We try to sync our community's lives with the law and what affects them. So you can jump on www.cacradioandtv.com or wkbradio.com and listen to us. We also do another program called the Global Diaspora Show, where we talk about issues that affect our diaspora at large, no matter what countries that you hail from and you're in the United States. We accentuate the positives, the accomplishments, and we really look at breaking down barriers and building bridges. So we invite you to join us every Saturday at 1:30 and then again at 2 p.m., where we have some great guests. And of course, it's all about building a stronger and better diaspora community here in the United States and across the world.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Attorney Wayne Golden.
Thank you.
And we have our final offer, which is moi. And let me put up, I
Did
am
Dr. Bean
offering, yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Again, I want to say also congratulations to Attorney Wayne Golden, who is our feature cover story for this issue, June, July, and August issue. Shares a lot of insights with him, an exclusive interview. But I'm offering a 30% discount on an ad, a full-page ad. So you can reach me at email at imkuomagazine.com, at gmail.com, and also visit us online at kuomagazine.com, and also on social media, Facebook and Instagram at official KUO Magazine, official Men of Culture 365, and culture spelled with a K, and official Women of Culture, and also our Glow 365 Facebook page at Greater Level of Wellness 365 and Ribbons of Survivors 365. And we're also on Instagram as well too.
Is there a
And
word
we
that
also
you
have
use, a code word for your offer?
GLOW. The code word is GLOW.
Okay. What about Quayle Works?
Quelix has an offer. Cooch, put you back in the room.
Hi. We have an amazing selection of speakers and educators, including Leonard Berg and Mia. And what we are offering is a 20% discount on their fee, should they speak before your group or your organization. The code word is RISK. Free your mind.
It's both risk and free your mind, Cooch?
No, it's RISK.
Okay.
But I was just saying, one of our slogans is free your mind.
Okay, well, it's been a great show, and we're thanking all of you for allowing us to bring you this celebration of National Men's Month, Health Month, and Caribbean American Heritage Month for 2021. Hopefully, today's program has contributed to inspiring all of us, our men of color, and everyone listening to make better choices about consciously cultivating self care and wellness. This self care includes your essential self, your spirit, so you can truly live the life that you love. One love.
One love, man. Thank you.
Yama.
Thank you, everyone.
Fun.
Leah?
And thank you to our featured guests. Gentlemen, do you have any final words of wisdom to share with our audience? Individually, let's start with Dr. B.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to share. But more importantly, I invite our listeners, our viewers, to collaborate, reach out to one another. You're not meant to do this journey by yourself. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. B. Lois Whitaker?
Yes, I would just love to thank you guys for allowing us to be here. It was a great opportunity to speak our experience in terms of our health and the things that we have been going through. I want to take the opportunity to invite everybody to tune into our network, especially on a Saturday. We have a very, very educational program for people who need education about their health. Join us every Saturday or every weekday and learn from professionals who knows the business. Education is the key.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. And Attorney Wayne Golden.
Yes, first of all, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak to this varied audience. And what I want to impart to folks is that we always have to remember our beginnings. We have to know from where we're coming to know where we're going. We are extremely grateful to be standing on the shoulders of so many giants who have gone before us, who have laid down the ultimate sacrifice of their life. So we can't take for granted where we are today, and we can't waste the moments and the opportunities that we do get to share our own experiences. Mia, I just want to say to you, congratulations for all the work that you have done within the Caribbean and the general community in highlighting the culture of the Caribbean and the people of the Caribbean. All of you have made your contributions, and it's duly noted. So thank you again for the opportunity to, share and learn at the same time.
Thank you, Attorney Wayne Golden. Thank you for being here. We also want to thank Mr. Sam Roberts for being here. We wish him again a happy birthday. And of course, thank you to our producer, director, Mr. Cooch. Any final words of wisdom?
Truth, wisdom, peace out.
Right.
Let us know what you think of this show. Please email us at imkuomagazine@gmail.com and like us on Facebook as well at Official Men of Culture 365, Official Women of Culture, and Official KUO Magazine, and also visit us online at kuomagazine.com.
And I'm Lenny Berg coming to you from the village of Harlem, New York. And I urge you all to remember, thank you so much for listening. I am because we are. Thank you.
And I am Mia, coming to you from Macaulay. I will see you every third Tuesday with our monthly virtual show called Glow 365 on Official Women of Culture. Remember, everyone, it's Men's Health Day 365. Protect the loved ones you love. Live and stay healthy, always 365.